The slap that shakes the skies. Dr. Elaine Whitaker, a poised black woman in a tailored suit, sips coffee in first class on a packed Horizon Airways flight from Chicago to Miami. Her calm demeanor draws stares. Karen Holt, a sharp-eyed flight attendant, demands Elaine's ticket, assuming she's misplaced. Elaine quietly complies, but Karen, enraged by her composure, slaps her, shocking passengers. Elaine's eyes flash with fury, hinting at hidden power. As the plane lands, whispers spread. Who is this woman? Before we dive in, tell us where you're watching from. If you stand for justice, hit like and subscribe for more gripping stories. The viral storm. Dr. Elaine Whitaker stepped off the Horizon Airways flight at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport, her tailored suit pristine despite the sting still burning her cheek. Her phone vibrated relentlessly, a swarm of notifications, lighting up the screen. The slap had been captured on video, a shaky clip now racing across social media platforms like wildfire. Posted on X, it had already garnered 2 million views in 3 hours. Elaine's calm compliance and Karen Holt's vicious strike looped endlessly, but the comments tore into Elaine with venom. She doesn't belong in first class, one read. Uppity fraud got what she deserved, sneered another. The racial slurs were relentless, a digital mob baying for her humiliation. Elaine's jaw tightened, her dark eyes scanning the terminal as travelers whispered and pointed, some raising phones to snap covert photos. She was Dr. Elaine Whitaker, 42, chairwoman of Horizon Airways, a position she'd clawed her way to through decades of brilliance and grit. Yet here she was, reduced to a viral punching bag. Her assistant, Maya Torres, a sharp 28-year-old with a tablet always in hand, met her at the gate. Maya's brown eyes widened at Elaine's composed expression. You're trending everywhere. This is bad, Elaine. We need to hit back hard. Elaine shook her head, her voice low and steady. Not yet. We play this smart. She slipped into a waiting black SUV, Maya sliding in beside her. As the vehicle pulled away, Elaine scrolled through the X posts, her stomach churning at the hatred. One user, with a Confederate flag avatar, wrote, "She's lucky it was just a slap." Another demanded, "Who let her in first class?" The assumption was clear. A black woman in a tailored suit couldn't possibly belong. Maya tapped her tablet, pulling up a news alert. It's worse. Karen Holt filed a report claiming you assaulted her. She says you grabbed her wrist and threatened her. Her supervisor backed her up. Elaine's fingers froze on her phone. Assault? I didn't touch her. The lie was bold, a calculated twist to flip the narrative. Karen, with her pinched lips and cold blue eyes, had acted on prejudice, but this was something deeper. Elaine's mind raced, piecing together the flight's details. Karen's demand for her ticket had been laced with contempt, her slap a public assertion of power. This wasn't random. Elaine opened her laptop, accessing Horizon's internal database. She typed Karen's name, her fingers steady despite the rage simmering beneath her calm exterior. The screen loaded Karen's employee file. 15 years. With Horizon, multiple complaints for rudeness but no terminations. Then, a detail caught Elaine's eye. Karen's performance reviews were signed by Richard Vaughn, a board member known for his old money influence, and whispered disdain for diversity initiatives. Elaine's pulse quickened. Vaughn had opposed her appointment as Chairwoman 3 years ago, his smile thin and insincere during her confirmation. Maya, pull everything on Vaughn. Emails, memos, anything linking him to Karen. Maya nodded, her fingers flying over her tablet. You think this was planned? Elaine's eyes narrowed. I think that slap was the opening shot. The SUV glided through Chicago's dusk, the skyline's neon glow reflecting off Lake Michigan. Elaine's phone buzzed again, a text from her brother Jamal. You okay? Saw the video. People are losing their minds. She typed back, I'm fine. Stay safe. But she wasn't fine. The video's spread was a wildfire she couldn't contain, each view eroding her carefully built reputation. At Horizon's sleek downtown headquarters, Elaine strode into her corner office, the city sprawling below. Maya set up a monitor, playing the slap video on mute, Elaine watched Karen's hand connect with her cheek, her own restraint a stark contrast to the flight attendant's fury. "We draft a statement," Elaine said, her voice firm. "We call out Karen's lie, demand her suspension, and address the video head-on. I won't let them paint me as the villain." Maya hesitated. "Elaine, the board's already nervous. Vaughn's been whispering about your instability. If we push too hard, he'll rally them against you." Elaine's lips curved into a tight smile. "Let him try. I'm still chairwoman." She felt a surge of confidence, her authority a shield against the chaos. She'd built Horizon into a top-tier airline, navigating crises from fuel shortages to labor strikes. A flight attendant's lie wouldn't undo her. She began typing the statement, her words sharp and measured, calling for an investigation into Karen's conduct and reaffirming Horizon's commitment to fairness. As she hit send, she believed she'd taken control, her position unassailable. But then Maya's tablet pinged, a news alert flashing red. Elaine's breath caught as she read the headline. Horizon chairwoman embroiled in scandal. Leaked records suggest corruption. The article, posted on a major outlet, claimed Elaine had misused company funds to secure her role, citing anonymous employee records. The byline linked to a journalist known for cozying up to corporate insiders. Maya's voice was tight. "This dropped 5 minutes after your statement. It's Vaughn." Elaine clicked the article, her heart pounding. The records were fabricated, detailing fake payments to board members during her appointment. Each document bore Horizon's logo designed to look authentic. Social media erupted, X-posts amplifying the leak with hashtags like "Fire Elaine" and "Choice Corrupt Chairwoman." One user wrote, "No wonder she's in first class, stole her way to the top." The racial undertones were unmistakable, the word thief, a dog whistle for deeper prejudices. Elaine's office felt smaller, the walls closing in. She opened her email, finding a message from Vaughn, sent to the entire board. "In light of these disturbing allegations, I propose an emergency meeting to review Dr. Whitaker's leadership." His tone was polite, but the threat was clear. Elaine's fingers hovered over her keyboard, her statement now buried under the leak's weight. She'd thought her authority would protect her, that a swift response would silence Karen's lie. But Vaughn's move was a masterstroke, turning her counterattack into a liability. The public, already primed by the SLAP video, lapped up the corruption narrative, their comments dripping with racist glee. Elaine's eyes flicked to a framed photo on her desk, her late mother smiling beside her at her chairwoman ceremony. "You taught me to fight," she whispered. She stood, her resolve hardening. "Maya, schedule a board meeting for tomorrow. We're not hiding." Maya nodded, but her eyes were worried. "Elaine, Vaughn's got allies. This feels bigger than Karen." Elaine's gaze drifted to the city lights, her mind racing. Karen's slap had been the spark, but Vaughn was the inferno, his syndicate pulling strings she hadn't yet seen. She opened her laptop again, digging deeper into Karen's file. A memo from Vaughn caught her eye, dated 6 months ago, praising Karen's loyalty to Horizon's values. The phrase chilled her. What values? She cross-referenced Vaughn's emails, finding a cryptic exchange with an unknown contact. "The Chicago incident will set the stage. Ensure K is ready." Elaine's breath hitched. The slap wasn't random. It was a calculated move to discredit her, a black woman at the helm of a billion-dollar company. Vaughn's syndicate, whatever it was, wanted her gone. She saved the email, her fingers trembling with a mix of fear and fury. The viral storm had only begun, and Elaine was standing in its eye, her reputation shredded, her leadership under siege. She glanced at Maya, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Get me everything on Vaughn's board allies. We're going to war." As Maya nodded, Elaine's phone buzzed with another alert. A new X post with 10,000 likes showing her slap video edited with a caption, "This is who runs Horizon." The comments called for her resignation, the racial slurs growing, bolder. Elaine's chest tightened, but she straightened her shoulders. She'd faced prejudice before, from boardroom snubs to whispered insults. This was different, a coordinated attack designed to break her. But Elaine Whitaker didn't break. She'd built Horizon from a struggling regional carrier to a global player, outsmarting men like Vaughn at every turn. The board meeting would be her battlefield, a chance to expose Karen's lie and Vaughn's scheme. She believed she could turn the tide, her evidence against Karen airtight. But Vaughn's leak had shifted the ground beneath her. His syndicates reached deeper than she'd imagined. As she prepared for the meeting, her office phone rang, an unknown number flashing. She answered, her voice clipped. Whitaker. A low chuckle came through, chilling her. You should have stayed quiet, Elaine. This is just the beginning. The line went dead. Elaine stared at the phone, her heart racing. Vaughn's voice, unmistakable, echoed in her mind. The SLAP had been the opening shot, but the war was far from over. The boardroom ambush. Dr. Elaine Whitaker stood at the head of the polished mahogany table in Horizon Airways' Chicago headquarters, the skyline glittering through floor-to-ceiling windows. Her tailored navy blazer hugged her frame, her dark-eyed eyes blazing with resolve. The boardroom buzzed with tension, 12 board members shifting in their leather chairs, their faces a mix of skepticism and unease. Elaine's heart pounded, but her voice was steady as she projected the viral SLAP video onto the screen. Karen Holt's hand cracked across her cheek, the sound echoing in the silent room. This was no misunderstanding, Elaine said, her words sharp. Karen Holt lied, claiming I assaulted her. I have passenger statements, timestamps, and video angles proving her report is false. She clicked to a document, displaying affidavits from 3 first-class passengers who'd witnessed Karen's unprovoked attack. The board murmured, some nodding, others glancing at Richard Vaughn, who sat at the table's far end, his silver hair gleaming under the lights. Vaughn's thin lips curved into a faint smile, his pale eyes unreadable. Elaine's assistant, Maya, stood by the door, her tablet glowing with real-time X-posts tracking the meeting's buzz. The leaked corruption allegations had inflamed the public, with hashtags like Dark on Fire Elaine trending at 2 million mentions. Elaine knew Vaughn had orchestrated the leak, his syndicate pulling strings to paint her as a thief. But she was ready. She'd spent the night combing through Karen's file, linking her to Vaughn's memos. Karen's actions reflect a deeper issue, Elaine continued, her voice rising. She's protected by a board member who's been undermining Horizon's values. She locked eyes with Vaughn, daring him to respond. A few board members leaned forward, intrigued. Dr. Priya Sharma, a longtime ally, scribbled notes, her brow furrowed. Elaine felt a flicker of hope. She was turning the tide, her evidence dismantling Karen's lie. She believed the board would back her, suspending Karen and curbing Vaughn's influence. But then Vaughn stood, his tailored suit pristine, his voice smooth as silk. Dr. Whitaker, your passion is noted, but we have a more pressing concern. He slid a thick folder across the table, the Horizon logo embossed on its cover. An independent audit, commissioned yesterday, reveals disturbing irregularities in your tenure. Over $5 million unaccounted for funneled to offshore accounts during your appointment. The room gasped, chairs creaking as board members flipped through the folder. Elaine's stomach dropped, her confidence crumbling. The audit was a fabrication, its numbers meticulously crafted to look real. She opened her mouth to protest, but Vaughn pressed on, his tone grave. This isn't personal, Elaine. We must protect Horizon's reputation. His words dripped with false sincerity, but the racial undertones were clear. A black woman leading a billion-dollar airline? To Vaughn, she was an anomaly to be erased. Elaine scanned the room, searching for allies. Priya avoided her gaze, her pen frozen. Only James Carter, a gruff 55-year-old board member with a history of supporting Elaine, met her eyes. This is nonsense, James growled, tossing the audit folder aside. Elaine's doubled our profits. This smells like a setup. Elaine's chest loosened, gratitude flooding her. James's support was a lifeline. She seized the moment, her voice fierce. Vaughn's trying to distract you. His memos to Karen prove he's been grooming her to target me. Suspend her now and investigate him. The board wavered, whispers rippling. Elaine felt the momentum shift, her evidence against Karen resonating. She was winning, her authority as chairwoman reasserting itself. But then the room's intercom buzzed, Maya's voice tight. "Elaine, you need to see this." Maya rushed in, projecting her tablet onto the screen. A live feed from outside. The building showed a mob of 200 Horizon employees, their signs reading "Elaine out" and "No thieves in charge." Their chants echoed through the glass, laced with racial slurs that made Elaine's skin crawl. "Go back where you came from," one shouted, the crowd roaring. The feed cut to X, where posts amplified the protest, one with 10,000 likes claiming, "Elaine's corruption proves she never belonged." The boardroom fell silent, the air heavy. Vaughn leaned back, his smile widening. "It seems the public agrees with the audit," he said, his voice soft but venomous. Elaine's hands clenched, her nails digging into her palms. The protest wasn't spontaneous. Vaughn's syndicate had incited it, weaponizing the leaked allegations to turn her own employees against her. The racial slurs weren't random. They were the syndicate's script, designed to dehumanize her. She glanced at the audit folder, its pages a trap she hadn't seen coming. Her false victory, the board's fleeting support, had been shattered by Vaughn's ambush. James stood, his face red. "This is a witch hunt. Elaine will fight this." But his voice was drowned out by the chants outside, now audible through the windows. Elaine's phone buzzed, a text from her sister Lila. "Protesters are blocking the street. Stay safe." Fear spiked through Elaine, but she forced it down. She addressed the board, her voice steady despite the chaos. "This audit is a lie and I'll prove it. But Karen's actions demand immediate action. Vote to suspend her or you're complicit in this attack." The board hesitated, their faces torn. Priya finally spoke, her voice shaky. "Elaine, we need time to review the audit. Let's reconvene tomorrow." Elaine's heart sank. Time was Vaughn's ally, giving his syndicate hours to tighten the noose. As the meeting adjourned, James pulled Elaine aside, his voice low. "I dug into Vaughn's contacts. He's part of a syndicate targeting black executives across industries. Airlines, tech, you name it. They've got deep pockets and deeper grudges." Elaine's breath caught, the scope of her fight expanding. Vaughn wasn't just a boardroom rival. He was a cog in a machine designed to crush people like her. "Find me proof," she said, her voice hard. James nodded, but his eyes were grim. "Watch your back, Elaine, they're not done." As Elaine left the boardroom, Maya at her side, the chants grew louder, the mob signs now visible through the lobby's glass doors. A brick sailed through the air, shattering a window 10 feet from Elaine. Security rushed in, shouting for lockdown. Elaine's pulse raced, her tailored blazer suddenly feeling like armor too thin for the battle ahead. The audit, the protest, the slurs, they were all Vaughn's doing. A symphony of racism orchestrated to topple her. She'd thought her evidence against Karen would be enough, that her position as chairwoman would shield her. But Vaughn's syndicate was a hydra, each blow spawning a fiercer retaliation. Elaine's office felt like a cage, the city's neon lights mocking her through the windows. She opened her laptop, pulling up Vaughn's memos again. One phrase stood out, buried in a 6-month-old email. "The Chicago incident will shift. The board, the SLAP, the leak, the audit, they were all planned, a chain reaction to destroy her." Elaine's fingers trembled, not with fear but with fury. She'd built Horizon from a failing carrier to a global titan, outsmarting men like Vaughn at every turn. This wasn't just about her. It was about every black leader they'd targeted, every dream they'd crushed. She turned to Maya, her voice ablade. "Get me a meeting with a whistleblower, anyone who's crossed Vaughn's syndicate. We're tearing this down." Maya nodded, her tablet already glowing with contacts. As Elaine prepared for her next move, the mob's chants echoed, a reminder of the war she faced. Vaughn's ambush had shaken her, but she wasn't broken. She'd fight, not just for her job, but for every person his syndicate had tried to erase. Comment number 1: if you're raging at Vaughn's dirty tactics, hit like to stand with Elaine, and subscribe to see her strike back. Have you ever faced a setup that felt impossible to beat? Share below. What's Elaine's next move against a syndicate this powerful? The whistleblower's trap. Dr. Elaine Whitaker sat in a dimly lit coffee shop on Chicago's South Side, her hoodie pulled low to avoid recognition. The air smelled of roasted beans and rain, the windows streaked with late-night drizzle. Her trithow, heart thudded, each beat a reminder of the mob that had shattered Horizon's lobby windows hours ago. The boardroom ambush had left her reeling, Richard Vaughn's fabricated audit and the racist chants outside branding her a thief. Now, James's warning about Vaughn's syndicate targeting black executives across industries burned in her mind. She needed proof, something to expose the conspiracy and clear her name. Her contact, Tom Reynolds, a former Horizon accountant, slid into the booth across from her. His wiry frame was hunched, his gray eyes darting to the door every few seconds. Tom was 53, with thinning brown hair and a nervous tic that made his left hand twitch. He'd quit Horizon 2 years ago after clashing with Vaughn, and James had vouched for his credibility. Elaine kept her voice low, her dark eyes locked on his. "You said you have evidence. Show me." Tom pushed a flash drive across the table, his fingers trembling. "This is everything. Emails, bank transfers, memos. Vaughn's syndicate has been framing black execs for years. Airlines, tech, even hospitals. They plant audits, leak scandals, ruin lives." Elaine's pulse quickened as she pocketed the drive, her fingers brushing its cold metal. "How do I know this is real?" Tom leaned closer, his voice a harsh whisper. "I saw what they did to Dr. Harris at Skyline Airways. Fake embezzlement charges, just like you. He's driving a cab now. Vaughn's got board members, cops, even journalists on payroll." Elaine's stomach churned. The scope was staggering. A network of racism woven into corporate America's fabric. She glanced at her phone, its screen dark to avoid tracking. The SLAP video, the audit, the mob, they were all pieces of Vaughn's puzzle, designed to crush her as a black woman in power. "Why help me?" she asked, her tone sharp. Tom's eyes softened, guilt flickering. "I stayed quiet when they targeted Harris. Not this time." Elaine nodded, her resolve hardening. She'd take the drive to a trusted journalist, someone outside Vaughn's reach, and blow the syndicate wide open. As she left the coffee shop, the city's neon lights blurred in the rain, her hoodie shielding her from curious stares. Back at her apartment, Elaine plugged the drive into her laptop, her heart racing as files loaded. Emails between Vaughn and unknown contacts detailed the Chicago plan, with Karen Holt's name mentioned as key to the incident. Bank transfers showed payments to media outlets for the corruption leak. One memo chillingly noted, "Whitaker's exit will stabilize the board." Elaine's breath hitched. This was dynamite, proof that the SLAP, the audit, and the mob were orchestrated to oust her. She emailed the files to Lena Brooks, a Pulitzer-winning journalist known for exposing corporate fraud. Lena replied instantly, "This is huge. I'll run it tomorrow." Elaine exhaled, a rush of triumph flooding her. With the syndicate exposed, Vaughn's audit would crumble, and Karen's lies would unravel. She believed she'd turned the tide, her evidence a weapon to reclaim her reputation. She poured a glass of water, her hands steady for the first time in days, imagining the headlines that would vindicate her. But then her phone buzzed with a news alert, the words slicing through her hope. "Former Horizon accountant found dead, in apparent suicide." Elaine's glass slipped, shattering on the floor. Tom Reynolds found in his apartment 3 hours after their meeting, a single gunshot to the head. The article quoted police. "No foul play suspected." Elaine's chest tightened, fear clawing at her. She checked her laptop, her fingers shaking as she opened the flash drive's folder. Empty. The files were gone, remotely wiped. Her evidence, her lifeline, vanished. She sank onto her couch, the room spinning. Vaughn's syndicate had moved faster than she'd imagined, silencing Tom and erasing her proof. Her phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. "You were warned." Elaine's blood ran cold, Vaughn's chuckle from the last call echoing in her mind. She rushed to her window, peering through the blinds. The street below was quiet, but shadows seemed to shift in the alley. Her triumph had been a mirage, her false victory crushed by a brutal counterstrike. As she grabbed her keys to leave, her TV flickered on, a news channel blaring. Karen Holt, her blonde hair perfect, stood at a podium, her voice dripping with fake concern. Dr. Whitaker's actions have endangered Horizon. I've been promoted to senior attendant, and I'm cooperating with authorities to investigate her role in Tom Reynolds' death." Elaine's jaw dropped, rage surging. Karen's promotion was a slap in the face, her accusation a lie designed to bury Elaine deeper. The broadcast cut to X posts, one with 20,000 likes claiming, "Whitaker's a murderer, lock her up." The racial slurs were bolder now, the public's hatred a tidal wave. Elaine's apartment door rattled, a thud echoing from outside. She froze, her heart pounding. Stepping closer, she saw red paint dripping under the doorframe. The words, "Go back," scrawled across her hallway wall. Racial slurs marred the paint, each letter a dagger. Elaine's hands shook, her safe haven violated. She called her sister Lila, her voice urgent. "Pack a bag. We're leaving tonight." Lila's voice trembled. "Elaine, there's a crowd. Outside my place too. They're shouting your name." Elaine's mind raced, the syndicate's reach suffocating. Tom's death, the wiped files, Karen's broadcast, the vandalism. They were all Vaughn's doing, a coordinated attack to frame her as a killer and drive her from Chicago. She grabbed her laptop, stuffing it into a bag. Her evidence was gone, but her memory of the files wasn't. She'd seen names, dates, payments. If she could find another source, she could rebuild her case. But first, she had to survive. She slipped out through her building's back exit, the night air cold against her skin. A taxi idled nearby, and she climbed in, her hoodie low. "Union Station," she told the driver, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. As the taxi pulled away, she glanced back, seeing a figure in a dark coat watching from the alley. Vaughn's syndicate was everywhere, their eyes tracking her every move. Karen's promotion was a bold move, positioning her as a public hero, while Elaine was painted as a villain. The accusation of Tom's murder was a masterstroke, exploiting racist fears of a black woman as a threat. Elaine's apartment, her sanctuary, was no longer safe. The red paint, a warning of worse to come. She opened her phone, pulling up Lena's email. "Files are gone. Tom's dead. Need another angle." Lena's reply was instant. "I'm digging. Stay hidden." Elaine's chest tightened, gratitude mixing with dread. Lena was her last hope. But the syndicate's speed was terrifying. They'd killed Tom, wiped her evidence, and turned her own employees against her, all in a day. She thought of her mother's words, etched into her soul. "They'll try to break you, but you're stronger than their hate." Elaine's resolve hardened. She'd expose Vaughn, not just for herself but for Tom, for Dr. Harris, for every leader his syndicate had crushed. As the taxi sped through Chicago's rain-slicked streets, Elaine's mind churned. Karen's lies were spreading, her promotion a signal of Vaughn's confidence. But Elaine wasn't done. She'd confront Karen, directly, face-to-face on Horizon's turf. A flight was scheduled tomorrow, New York to Chicago, with Karen as lead attendant. Elaine would board it, armed with passenger testimonies and her own truth. It was risky, but she had no choice. Vaughn's syndicate thought they'd cornered her, but Elaine Whitaker was no prey. She'd fight, her intelligence and grit her weapons. The taxi's radio crackled, a news report mentioning her name. Whitaker remains at large, linked to Reynolds' death. Elaine's stomach twisted, the lie tightening its grip. She leaned forward, her voice low. "Change of plan. Take me to a motel, cash only." The driver nodded, his eyes flicking to her in the rearview mirror. Elaine sank back, her hoodie a thin shield against the storm. Vaughn's warning echoed. This is just the beginning. She'd believed the whistleblower's evidence would save her, but the syndicate's trap had snapped shut, leaving her exposed. The war was escalating, and Elaine was running out of moves. The in-flight showdown. Dr. Elaine Whitaker boarded Horizon Airways Flight 372 from New York to Chicago, her pulse hammering beneath her calm exterior. She wore a simple gray sweater and jeans, her face partially hidden by a baseball cap, but her dark eyes burned with purpose. The cabin hummed with pre-flight chatter, passengers stowing bags in overhead bins. Elaine slid into a window seat in economy, row 23, her boarding pass a calculated risk. She knew Karen Holt, now senior flight attendant, was leading. The crew, her smug face plastered on Horizon's internal memos after her promotion. The motel last night had been a sleepless blur, Elaine's mind replaying the red paint on her door, the racial slurs branding her a murderer. Tom's death. The wiped flash drive and Vaughn's chilling warning had left her exposed, the syndicate's noose tightening. But Elaine wasn't running. She'd confront Karen on this flight, armed with passenger testimonies from the SLAP incident, printed and tucked into her bag. Her plan was bold. Demand Karen's resignation in front of the passengers. Let their phones capture the truth and force Horizon to act. The cabin lights dimmed as the plane taxied, the Manhattan skyline fading through the window. Elaine's phone, now a burner to avoid tracking, buzzed with a text from Lena Brooks, the journalist. Found a source linking Vaughn to cops. Stay safe. Elaine's jaw tightened. Vaughn's syndicate reached into law enforcement, explaining the swift ruling on Tom's suicide. She glanced at the cabin, spotting Karen near the galley, her blonde hair pulled into a tight bun, her smile a mask as she handed out napkins. Karen's promotion, built on lies about Elaine's role in Tom's death, was a public taunt, a signal of Vaughn's untouchable power. The plane leveled at 35,000 feet, the seatbelt sign flicking off. Elaine stood, her movements deliberate, and walked toward the galley, her bag slung over her shoulder. Passengers glanced up, some recognizing her from the viral SLAP video, now at 15 million views on X. Whispers rippled, phones discreetly raised. Karen turned, her blue eyes narrowing as she saw Elaine. "You're not welcome here," Karen hissed, her voice low but venomous. Elaine's voice was steady, loud enough for nearby Rose to hear. "Karen Holt, you slapped me unprovoked, lied about an assault, and now you're accusing me of murder. I'm Dr. Elaine Whitaker, Chairwoman of Horizon Airways, and I'm demanding your resignation." Gasps echoed through the cabin, passengers leaning into the aisle, their phones recording. Elaine pulled out the testimonies, holding them up. "These are sworn statements from passengers on Flight 149. They saw you attack me, no provocation. You've built a career on lies, and it ends today." Karen's face paled, her hands trembling, but her voice was defiant. "You're a disgraced executive, Whitaker. Nobody believes you." But the passengers didn't agree. A young woman in row 10 stood, her voice shaking. "I was on that flight. She's telling the truth." An older man in row 12 nodded. "I saw it too. You hit her for no reason." The cabin buzzed, more phones filming, the air electric, with support. Elaine's chest swelled, a flicker of triumph warming her. The passengers' backing was unexpected, their voices a shield against Karen's lies. She pressed forward, her tone fierce. "Resign, Karen, or I'll ensure every news outlet sees these testimonies." Karen's smile faltered, her eyes darting to the galley as if seeking an escape. Elaine believed she'd won, the public support a tide turning in her favor. The recordings would go viral, forcing the board to suspend Karen and weaken Vaughn's grip. But then a man in a dark suit stood from row 5, his badge gleaming under the cabin lights. "Dr. Elaine Whitaker, you're under arrest for inciting a riot." His voice was cold, his federal marshal credentials flashing as he cuffed her wrists. The cabin erupted, passengers shouting in protest, but the marshal's grip was iron. "Everyone, stay seated," he barked, dragging Elaine toward the front. Karen's smirk returned, her composure restored as she addressed the passengers. "Please remain calm. This is for your safety." Elaine's stomach plummeted, her triumph shattered. The marshal's presence wasn't random. Vaughn's syndicate had infiltrated law enforcement, planting an ally to silence her. The arrest was a spectacle, phones capturing every second as passengers live-streamed to X. By the time the plane landed in Chicago, the footage had hit 5 million views, headlines screaming, "Horizon Chairwoman arrested mid-flight, terrorist threat?" The word terrorist was no accident, a racist dog whistle amplifying the narrative that Elaine, a black woman, was a danger to society. The marshal hustled her through O'Hare's terminal, reporters swarming, their cameras blinding. "Dr. Whitaker, did you plan the riot?" one shouted. "Are you linked to Tom Reynolds' death?" another demanded. Elaine's voice was steady, though her wrists ached in the cuffs. "I'm innocent. This is a setup." But her words were drowned by the chaos, the media already convicting her. At the airport's holding cell, Elaine sat on a metal bench, her gray sweater damp with sweat. Her burner phone had been confiscated, her bag with the testimonies gone. She closed her eyes, replaying the flight. The passengers' support had been real, their videos a potential lifeline. But Vaughn's countermove was ruthless. The arrest a public execution of her reputation. The riot charge was absurd. But the syndicate's influence made it stick, their tentacles reaching into federal agencies. Elaine's mind raced, piecing together the syndicate's scope. The SLAP, the audit, Tom's death, and now, this. Arrests were all linked, a campaign to erase her as a black leader. Karen's smirk on the flight haunted her, a reminder of the syndicate's confidence. They'd promoted Karen to senior attendant, paraded her as a hero, while Elaine was branded a terrorist. The holding cell's door clanged, a guard tossing her a public defender's card. "Court's tomorrow. Good luck." Elaine's jaw clenched, her resolve hardening. She'd face a rigged trial, but she wasn't done. Her lawyer, Sarah, would dig into the marshal's report, and Lena's source on Vaughn's police ties could expose the setup. Elaine thought of her sister, Lila, hiding from the mobs, and her brother, Jamal, who texted her last night. "Keep fighting, sis." She wouldn't let them down. As the cell's fluorescent lights buzzed, Elaine's mind turned to the passengers' videos. They were out there, spreading on X, showing her truth against Karen's lies. If she could survive the trial, she'd use them to rally support. But Vaughn's syndicate was a hydra, each victory spawning a fiercer retaliation. The arrest had escalated her fight to a national stage, the terrorist label a weapon to isolate her. Elaine's hands flexed, the cuffs biting her skin. She'd been chairwoman for 3 years, navigating crises with steel and smarts. This was her toughest battle, a war against a syndicate that thrived on racism. But Elaine Whitaker didn't break. She'd face the courtroom, expose the marshal's ties to Vaughn, and claw her way back. The cell door rattled again, a guard shouting, "Whitaker, time for processing." Elaine stood, her gray sweater a stark contrast to the tailored suit she'd worn as chairwoman. The arrest video was looping on X, the comments a cesspool of slurs. Terrorist got what she deserved. The narrative was set, the public primed, to hate her. But Elaine's eyes burned with defiance. She'd confront the syndicate's lies, starting with the trial. Karen's promotion and the marshal's badge were just the latest moves in Vaughn's game, but Elaine was still playing. As she stepped into the corridor, her mind flashed to her mother's words. "They'll fear your strength, but you'll outlast them." Elaine held that truth close, her fight far from over. The courtroom loomed, a rigged battleground where Vaughn's syndicate held the gavel. But Elaine had her wits, her allies, and the passengers' truth. She'd face the judge, expose the setup, and keep fighting, no matter how deep the syndicate's claws reached. The kangaroo court Dr. Elaine Whitaker sat in a Chicago courtroom, her wrists free of cuffs but her spirit shackled by the weight of the syndicate's lies. The room smelled of polished wood and stale coffee, its high ceilings amplifying the murmurs of reporters packed into the gallery. Elaine's gray sweater from the flight had been replaced by a sharp black blazer, her dark eyes scanning the judge's stern face. Her lawyer, Sarah Nguyen, a 35-year-old firebrand with a reputation for dismantling corrupt cases, stood beside her, flipping through a thick binder. The charge was inciting a riot, a fabrication born from Elaine's in-flight confrontation with Karen Holt. The viral arrest video, now at 20 million views on X, had branded Elaine a terrorist, the racist label sinking its claws into public perception. Elaine's heart thudded, but her face was a mask of calm. She'd spent the night in a holding cell, her mind replaying the passengers' support, their phones capturing Karen's faltering lies. Sarah had worked through dawn, uncovering discrepancies in the federal marshal's report. The marshal, a Vaughn ally, claimed Elaine had shouted threats, but passenger videos showed no such thing. Sarah leaned close, her voice a fierce whisper. "We've got this, Elaine. The judge will see through their garbage." Elaine nodded, her hope flickering. The courtroom doors swung open and Karen entered, her senior attendant uniform crisp, her blonde hair gleaming. She took the witness stand, her blue eyes wide with rehearsed innocence. The prosecutor, a slick man with Vaughn's payroll written in his smirk, began. Ms. Holt, describe the incident on Flight 372. Karen's voice trembled. A perfect act. Dr. Whitaker stormed the galley, yelling accusations, riling up passengers. I feared for our safety. Elaine's fists clenched under the table, rage simmering. Karen's lies were bold, rewriting the truth to paint Elaine as a menace. Sarah stood, her tone cutting. Objection. Passenger videos contradict Ms. Holt's account. They show Dr. Whitaker speaking calmly with no threats. The judge, a gray-haired woman with sharp eyes, nodded. Sustained. Let's see the evidence. Sarah played the videos, the cabin's chaos unfolding on a courtroom screen. Passengers' voices backed Elaine, their testimonies echoing her. Truth. Karen shifted, her facade cracking. Elaine's chest loosened, a surge of triumph rising. Sarah's evidence was airtight, the marshal's report unraveling. The judge's pen moved swiftly, her expression skeptical of the prosecution. After hours of testimony, Elaine took the stand, her voice steady but fierce. I'm Dr. Elaine Whitaker, chairwoman of Horizon Airways. I confronted Karen Holt to expose her lies about assaulting me, a lie she's now escalated to frame me as a rioter. This is a targeted attack, rooted in prejudice, to silence a black woman in leadership. The gallery murmured, reporters typing furiously. The judge's eyes softened, and Elaine felt the room shift. Sarah's final argument was a blade, slicing through the syndicate's narrative. The prosecution's case rests on a falsified report, contradicted by dozens of witnesses. Dismiss this now. The judge recessed, and Elaine's hopes soared. Back in the deliberation room, Sarah grinned. We've got her, Elaine. You're walking out free. When the judge returned, her gavel fell like thunder. Charges dismissed. Dr. Whitaker, you're free to go. Elaine exhaled, her blazer suddenly lighter. The gallery erupted, some clapping, others hissing. She'd won, her truth prevailing, over Karen's lies and Vaughn's marshal. She believed the nightmare was easing, her reputation salvageable. As she stepped toward the courthouse doors, Sarah at her side, the crowd outside roared, a mix of supporters and protesters. Elaine's sister, Lila, waited in the lobby, her eyes wet with relief. You did it, sis, Lila whispered, hugging her. Elaine smiled, her first real smile in days, the weight of the cuffs a fading memory. But as she pushed through the doors, a crack split the air, a bullet grazing her arm. Pain seared through her, blood soaking her blazer. The crowd screamed, scattering as security tackled a figure in the shadows. Elaine stumbled, Lila catching her, her vision blurring. Stay with me, Lila shouted, pressing her scarf to the wound. The shooter vanished, the police already calling it a lone gunman. But Elaine knew better. Vaughn's syndicate had struck, their retaliation swift and deadly. She was rushed to a hospital, her arm bandaged, the graze shallow but the message deep. As she lay in the sterile room, her phone buzzed with a news alert. A major outlet, tied to Vaughn's payroll, claimed Elaine had staged the shooting for sympathy. The headline screaming, Whitaker's desperate ploy. X posts exploded, one with 30,000 likes reading, she'll do anything to play victim. The racial slurs were vicious, accusing her of orchestrating violence. Elaine's stomach twisted, her courtroom victory crushed by this new lie. Karen's face appeared on the hospital TV, her voice syrupy with concern. I'm leading a boycott of Horizon Airways. Dr. Whitaker's reckless actions endanger passengers. We demand her resignation. The boycott gained traction. X posts, urging travelers to cancel flights. Hashtags like Chand Boycott Horizon trending at 5 million mentions. Elaine's triumph had been a mirage, the syndicate's sniper a brutal countermove. Her phone rang, Lila's voice frantic. Elaine, we're getting death threats. Me, Jamal, even the kids. They know where we live. Elaine's heart stopped, fear choking her. The syndicate wasn't just after her. They were targeting her, family, their reach a suffocating web. She sat up, ignoring the pain in her arm, her mind racing. The courtroom had been a stage, the dismissal a trap to lure her into the open. Vaughn's syndicate played for blood, their lies painting her as a danger to be eliminated. She texted Sarah, "Dig into the shooter, find Vaughn's link." Sarah's reply was instant, "On it, stay hidden." Elaine's eyes flicked to the TV, Karen's boycott speech looping. The syndicate had elevated Karen, her lies now a national crusade, while Elaine was hunted, her family in peril. She thought of Tom, his lifeless body a warning she'd ignored. The flash drive, the videos, the courtroom, all her moves had been anticipated, countered with escalating cruelty. Her arm throbbed, but her resolve burned hotter. She'd been chairwoman for 3 years, outsmarting crises with grit and cunning. This was different, a war against a syndicate that thrived on racism, their claws in media, police, even snipers. But Elaine wasn't prey. She'd protect her family, expose Vaughn, and dismantle his network. As nurses bustled outside, Elaine slipped her phone under the blanket, pulling up Lena's last message about Vaughn's police ties. If she could find the shooter's handler, she'd trace it to Vaughn's syndicate, rebuilding her case. But the death threats to Lila and Jamal were a new front line, the stakes personal and raw. She leaned back, her blazer stained with blood, her mind a battlefield. The boycott was crippling Horizon, her legacy teetering. Karen's lies, the sniper's bullet, the threats. They were all Vaughn's doing, a symphony of hate to break her. But Elaine Whitaker didn't break. She'd move her family to safety, hunt the syndicate's roots, and fight back. Her intelligence, her sharpest weapon. The hospital window showed Chicago's skyline, its lights a reminder of the empire she'd built. Vaughn thought he'd won, but Elaine was still standing, her next move brewing. Comment number 1 if you're furious at the syndicate's sniper attack. Hit like to rally behind Elaine, and subscribe to see her protect her family. Ever had to shield loved ones from unfair attacks? Share below. Can Elaine outsmart a syndicate that's already one step ahead? The syndicate's shadow. Dr. Elaine Whitaker crouched in the back seat of a nondescript sedan, the Chicago skyline fading as her sister Lila drove toward a safe house 200 miles away in rural Illinois. The hospital's sterile smell clung to Elaine's black blazer, her arm throbbing beneath the bandage from the sniper's graze. The courtroom victory, her charges dismissed, had been a fleeting triumph, shattered by the bullet and Karen Holt's boycott crippling Horizon Airways. Now, death threats flooded Lila's phone, targeting her, Elaine's brother Jamal, and even their kids. "They called me at work," Lila said, her voice tight, gripping the wheel. "Said they'd burn our house if you don't resign." Elaine's stomach churned, guilt mixing with rage. Vaughn's syndicate wasn't just after her, they were hunting her family, their racism a weapon to break her spirit. She'd arranged the safe house through a trusted contact, a secluded cabin off a dirt road, cash only to avoid tracking. Her burner phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, her lawyer. "Shooter's a ghost, no ID yet, be careful." Elaine's jaw clenched. The sniper was Vaughn's doing, a calculated escalation after her courtroom win. She glanced at Lila, her sister's eyes red from sleepless fear. "We'll be okay," Elaine said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I'm ending this." At the safe house, a weathered cabin surrounded by dense pines, Elaine settled Lila and her kids, securing the doors. The air smelled of damp wood and earth, the silence a stark contrast to Chicago's chaos. Elaine hired Marcus Tate, a private investigator with a reputation for cracking corporate conspiracies. Marcus, 40, with a shaved head and a scar across. His cheek arrived at midnight, his laptop glowing in the cabin's dim light. "Vaughn's syndicate is bigger than Horizon," Marcus said, his voice gruff. "They've hit black execs at 3 airlines, 2 tech firms, and a hospital chain. Fake audits, smear campaigns, even accidents. I've got names, dates, shell companies." Elaine's pulse quickened, her mind flashing to Tom Reynolds, the accountant killed hours after meeting her. Marcus pulled up a file, showing bank transfers, linking Vaughn to a shadowy group called the Covenant. They funnel money through offshore accounts, bribe cops, journalists, even board members. Your audit was their playbook. Elaine's eyes narrowed, the pieces clicking. The SLAP, the audit, Tom's death, the sniper, all were Covenant moves, orchestrated to erase her as a black woman leading Horizon. "Can you get this to the press?" she asked, her voice sharp. Marcus nodded. "I know a guy at the Tribune. Clean record. But we need hard proof, not just files." Elaine spent the night combing through Marcus's data, her arm aching as she typed. She found a memo from Vaughn to a Covenant operative. "Whitaker's exposure risks the network. Neutralize her." The word chilled her, its intent clear. By dawn, she'd compiled a dossier, emails and transfers tying Vaughn to the Covenant's attacks on black leaders. She emailed it to Lena Brooks, the journalist, with a note. "Run this now. Lives depend on it." Lena's reply was swift. "Story drops at noon. FBI's already sniffing." Elaine exhaled, a rush of triumph flooding her. The dossier was explosive, enough to spark a federal investigation and dismantle Vaughn's syndicate. She believed she'd struck a mortal blow, her evidence forcing the Covenant into the open. She imagined Vaughn's face, his smug smile fading as agents knocked. But as she stepped outside for air, the cabin's silence shattered. A blast rocked the night, flames erupting from the garage. Firebomb. Elaine's heart stopped, her instincts kicking in. "Lila, get the kids!" she shouted, rushing inside. Lila grabbed her children, their faces pale with terror, as Elaine doused the flames with a hose, the heat scorching her skin. The garage was gutted, their car a smoldering wreck. Marcus pulled Elaine back, his eyes scanning the trees. "That was no accident. Someone knew we were here." Elaine's chest tightened, fear clawing at her. The safe house was compromised, her family exposed. Her phone buzzed with a news alert, Karen's face filling the screen. "Dr. Whitaker's dangerous actions continue," Karen said, her voice dripping with fake concern. "This alleged firebomb is clearly a stunt to distract from her crimes." The broadcast cut to X, post with 40,000 likes claiming, "Whitaker's torching her own hideout for pity." The racial slurs were relentless, accusing her of insanity. Elaine's triumph crumbled, the dossier's impact buried under this new lie. Karen's accusation was a masterstroke, turning Elaine's desperation into a narrative of deceit. The firebomb was the syndicate's retaliation, a brutal countermove to her press leak. Elaine's eyes flicked to the cabin, Lila clutching her, kids, their bags half-packed. The safe house was no longer safe, the Covenant's reach terrifying. Marcus's voice was low, urgent. "There's a mole in your circle. Nobody else knew this location." Elaine's stomach dropped. Betrayal, a fresh wound. Someone close had sold her out, feeding Vaughn her every move. She thought of her board allies, Priya and James, their support wavering after the audit. Even Sarah or Lena could be compromised. Her mind raced, the syndicate's shadow suffocating. As they fled the cabin in Marcus's truck, the pines blurring. Past, Elaine's phone rang, an unknown number. She answered, her voice cold. "Who is this?" A low chuckle, Vaughn's voice unmistakable. "You're persistent, Whitaker, but you're out of moves." The line went dead, leaving Elaine's blood icy. The firebomb, Karen's broadcast, the mole, they were all Vaughn's doing, a coordinated strike to crush her momentum. The dossier had sparked an investigation, but the Covenant was retaliating with lethal force, targeting her family and framing her as a lunatic. At a gas station 50 miles away, Elaine regrouped, her arm throbbing, her blazer singed. Marcus hacked into Horizon's internal server, pulling employee records. "Karen's been in touch with Vaughn daily," he said, showing encrypted emails. "She's their mouthpiece now, rallying the boycott." Elaine's jaw clenched, Karen's lies a constant thorn. The boycott had grounded 20% of Horizon's flights, the board teetering on collapse. X-posts showed employees picketing, signs reading, "Whitaker's a fraud." The racial undertones were blatant, the narrative of a black woman's incompetence fueled by the Covenant's propaganda. Elaine thought of her mother, her voice a beacon. "They'll try to bury you, but you'll rise." She turned to Marcus, her voice steel. "Find the mole. I'm going back to Chicago. Vaughn's not winning. Marcus hesitated, his scar catching the light. Elaine, they're playing for keeps. That firebomb was a warning. Elaine's eyes burned, her resolve unshaken. She'd been chairwoman for 3 years, turning Horizon into a titan through sheer will. The syndicate thought they'd broken her, burning her safe house, threatening her family. But Elaine was a fighter, her intelligence her sharpest blade. She'd expose the mole, protect Lila and the kids, and tear down Vaughn's network. As the truck sped toward Chicago, Elaine's phone buzzed with a text from Lena. FBI's raiding Covenant fronts. Your dossier worked. Stay low. Elaine's heart lifted, but the firebomb smoke lingered in her mind. The investigation was a start, but the mole's betrayal and Karen's lies were new fronts in the war. She glanced at Lila, her sisters, face etched with fear. The syndicate's shadow loomed, its claws in her inner circle. Elaine's arm ached, but her spirit was iron. She'd return to Horizon, confront the board, and root out the traitor. The firebomb had been a desperate move, proof the Covenant feared her, but Vaughn's chuckle echoed, a reminder of their ruthlessness. Elaine's fight was personal now, her family's safety the stakes. She leaned back, the truck's hum a steady pulse, her mind plotting her next strike. The syndicate thought they'd cornered her, but Elaine Whitaker was just beginning. The corporate coup. Dr. Elaine Whitaker stood in a cramped Chicago motel room, the air thick with the scent of mildew and cheap coffee. Her singed black blazer hung on a chair, her arm still tender from the sniper's graze. The firebomb at the safe house had forced her family to scatter, Lila and the kids now hiding in a new location known only to Elaine. The syndicate's shadow loomed, their mole's betrayal a fresh wound. Marcus Tate, her private investigator, sat at a wobbly table, his laptop casting a pale glow. His scarred cheek twitched as he hacked into Horizon Airways servers, chasing the traitor who'd leaked the safe house. Elaine's burner phone buzzed with a text from Lena Brooks. FBI raids hit Covenant fronts. Vaughn's scrambling. The dossier Elaine had leaked had sparked a federal probe, but the firebomb and Karen Holt's boycott were proof the syndicate wasn't slowing down. Elaine's eyes burned with exhaustion, but her mind was razor sharp. Marcus looked up, his voice low. Got something. Your CFO, Daniel Price, has been wiring funds to a Covenant shell company. Emails show Vaughn's been grooming him for months. Elaine's stomach dropped, betrayal cutting deeper than the sniper's bullet. Daniel, her trusted chief financial officer, had sat through every board meeting, nodding at her strategies. His boyish smile and quick wit had masked a snake. He's the mole, Elaine said, her voice cold. He sold us out. Marcus nodded, pulling up bank records. $10,000 a week, straight to a Cayman account. He knew the safe. House. Elaine's hands clenched, fury surging. Daniel's betrayal explained the firebomb, the syndicate's uncanny precision. She'd trusted him, shared her plans, and he'd fed her to Vaughn's machine. The boycott, now grounding 30% of Horizon's flights, was bleeding the company, the board teetering on collapse. Posts showed picket lines at airports, signs reading Whitaker's wrecking us, the racial slurs a constant drumbeat. Elaine paced, her sneakers silent on the worn carpet. We take Daniel down now. Call an emergency board meeting. Marcus hesitated, his scar catching the light. Elaine, they're gunning for you. One wrong move and you're done. Elaine's eyes flashed, her resolve iron. I'm still chairwoman. They don't get to win. She spent the night drafting a plan, her arm throbbing as she typed. By dawn, she'd compiled evidence of Daniel's transactions, cross-referenced, with Vaughn's emails. She contacted Priya Sharma and James Carter, her remaining board allies, sharing just enough to secure their votes. The meeting was set for noon at Horizon's headquarters, a glass tower overlooking Lake Michigan. Elaine arrived in a fresh blazer, her presence a defiance of the syndicate's threats. The boardroom hummed with tension, the same mahogany table, now a battlefield. Daniel sat across from her, his tie loose, his eyes avoiding hers. Vaughn was absent, citing urgent business, but his absence felt like a trap. Elaine stood, her voice steady, projecting Daniel's bank records onto the screen. Daniel Price has been siphoning funds to a syndicate linked to Richard Vaughn. He's betrayed Horizon, leaking sensitive information, including the location of my family's safe house. The board gasped, Priya's pen freezing mid-note. Daniel's face paled, his hands trembling. "This is absurd," he stammered, but Elaine cut him off, her voice ablade. "We have emails, transfers, timestamps. You sold us out." James leaned forward, his gruff voice booming. "Vote now. Remove Price as CFO." The board hesitated, but Priya's nod tipped the scales. One by one, hands raised, Daniel's fate sealed. By a narrow margin, he was ousted, security escorting him out as he shouted denials. Elaine exhaled, a rush of triumph flooding her. The vote was a lifeline, strengthening her grip as chairwoman. News of Daniel's removal hit X, Horizon stock climbing 5 points by afternoon. Employees paused their pickets, whispers of Elaine's comeback spreading. She believed she'd turned the tide, the mole's exposure a blow to Vaughn's syndicate. Her family was safe, the board behind her, and the FBI's raids closing in. But as she left the boardroom, her phone buzzed with a news alert. The headline, a gut punch. Horizon Airways systems hacked, flights grounded nationwide. Elaine's knees buckled, Maya catching her arm. The screen showed airports in chaos, screens blank, passengers stranded. A statement from an anonymous source blamed Elaine's incompetent leadership, claiming her focus on personal vendettas caused the breach. X posts erupted, one with 50,000 likes reading, "Whitaker's crashed Horizon, resign now." The racial slurs were vicious, calling her a saboteur. Elaine's triumph shattered, the hack a syndicate masterstroke. Marcus called, his voice grim. "It's Covenant. They've got top-tier hackers, military grade. This was planned." Elaine's mind raced, the hack's timing too precise. Daniel's ousting had provoked Vaughn's retaliation, a blow to cripple Horizon and bury her legacy. As she scrolled X, Karen's face appeared in a new broadcast, her voice syrupy with fake concern. "I'm leading a class action lawsuit on behalf of passengers affected by Dr. Whitaker's negligence. Her leadership has failed us all." The lawsuit gained traction, thousands signing on, the boycott now at 40% of flights. Elaine's chest tightened, the syndicate's claws sinking deeper. She returned to the motel, her blazer heavy with defeat. Marcus was waiting, his laptop open. "The hack's untraceable so far, but I'm digging." Elaine nodded, her voice hoarse. "Keep going." But the blows kept coming. Her phone rang, Jamal's voice shaking. "Elaine, they hit Lila's daughter at school. Racial slurs on her locker, kids shoving her. She's terrified." Elaine's heart stopped, guilt choking her. The syndicate wasn't just targeting her company. They were attacking her niece, a 12-year-old girl, to break her family. She sank onto the bed, her arm throbbing, her mind a storm. The hack, the lawsuit, the harassment, they were all Vaughn's doing, a symphony of racism to erase her. Daniel's betrayal had been the tip of the iceberg, the Covenant's reach suffocating. She thought of the board vote, her brief victory now a cruel joke. The stock bump was meaningless, Horizon systems in chaos, her niece traumatized. Elaine's eyes fell on her mother's photo, tucked in her bag, her smile a beacon. "You taught me to stand," Elaine whispered. She stood, her resolve hardening. "Marcus, trace the hack. I'm going undercover. If Vaughn Physics by Tico F47Y9L7M8, the Covenant's gotta have a digital footprint." Marcus nodded, his scar tight. "Risky, Elaine. They're watching." Elaine's eyes burned. "I've got no choice." She'd infiltrate a rival airline, tied to the Covenant, find their hacking operation, and expose Vaughn's network. The motel's dim light cast shadows, the air heavy with danger. The syndicate thought they'd crushed her, grounding Horizon, terrorizing her niece. But Elaine was a fighter, her intelligence her sharpest weapon. She'd protect her family, save her company, and dismantle the Covenant, no matter the cost. As she packed a bag, her phone buzzed with a text from Lena. "Found a lead on the hacker. Meet me tomorrow." Elaine's pulse quickened, hope flickering. The hack was a desperate move, proof the syndicate feared her. But the lawsuit and her niece's harassment were new wounds, the stakes excruciatingly personal. She slipped into the night, her blazer a shield, her mind plotting. Vaughn's syndicate was a hydra, each blow spawning a fiercer retaliation. But Elaine Whitaker was still standing, her fight far from over. The undercover gamble. Dr. Elaine Whitaker slipped into the bustling offices of Skyline Airways, a rival airline headquartered in a sleek Chicago tower, her heart pounding beneath a borrowed maintenance uniform. The Navy jumpsuit and fake ID badge marked her as Tanya Green, a low-level cleaner, her dark eyes hidden behind glasses, her hair tucked under a cap. The syndicate's hack had grounded Horizon Airways flights. Karen Holt's class action lawsuit, fueling a boycott that slashed 50% of bookings. Elaine's niece's harassment at school, racial slurs scrawled on her locker, burned. In her mind, a personal wound driving her to this desperate move. The Covenant, Vaughn's shadowy network, had ties to Skyline, and Elaine was betting their hacking operation was here. Her private investigator, Marcus, had traced encrypted signals to Skyline servers, and Lena Brooks's lead confirmed it. Elaine's blazer and chairwoman title were gone, replaced by a mop and a mission to expose the syndicate's digital heart. The office hummed with activity, executives in suits barking orders, unaware of the fugitive in their midst. Elaine's arm, still tender from the sniper's graze, ached as she pushed a cart through cubicles, her eyes scanning for server rooms. The firebomb, the mole, the lawsuit, every blow had been calculated to break her. But Elaine was playing their game now, her intelligence her sharpest weapon. She'd infiltrated Skyline to find proof of the hack, something to send to the FBI and crush Vaughn's empire. At noon, she slipped into a restricted basement level, the air cool and humming with machinery. Rows of servers blinked in the dim light, their cables a labyrinth. Elaine's burner phone, tucked in her pocket, held a hacking tool Marcus had rigged, a USB drive to download server logs. She found a terminal, her fingers trembling as she plugged in the drive. The screen flared, files streaming, emails, code, payment records. One folder labeled Horizon Disruption caught her eye. She opened it, her breath catching. Screenshots showed the hack's blueprint, timestamps matching Horizon's grounding, and payments to a hacker alias Ghost. An email from Vaughn to a Skyline exec read, "Whitaker's done. Ghost ensures collapse." Elaine's pulse raced, triumph surging. This was it, the smoking gun to bury the Covenant. She downloaded the files, the drive's light flashing green. Footsteps echoed behind her, a security guard's radio crackling. Elaine yanked the drive, ducking behind a server rack, her heart hammering. The guard passed, oblivious, and she exhaled, slipping back upstairs. At a public library across town, Elaine met Marcus handing him the drive. "Get this to the FBI," she said, her voice low. "It's enough to arrest Vaughn's Skyline allies." Marcus nodded, his scar tight. "You're playing with fire, Elaine. They'll know it was you." Elaine's eyes burned. Let them. By evening, Lena broke the story, the Tribune's. Headlines screaming, "Skyline Airways linked to Horizon hack." The FBI raided Skyline's offices, arresting 3 executives named in Elaine's files. X posts exploded, one with 60,000 likes reading, "Whitaker's fighting back." Horizon stock ticked up, the boycott wavering as passengers rallied. Elaine, holed up in a new motel, watched the news, a rush of victory flooding her. The arrests were a hammer blow to the Covenant, Vaughn's network cracking under federal scrutiny. She believed she'd turned the war, her undercover gamble paying off. Her family was safe, the hack exposed, and Horizon's collapse halted. She texted Lila, "We're winning, stay strong." But as she stepped out for air, her phone buzzed with a call from Jamal, his voice panicked. "Elaine, they took Lila, men in masks at the new safe house. They left a note. Stop, or she dies." Elaine's knees buckled, the motel's neon sign blurring. Her sister, her rock, was gone, kidnapped by Vaughn's enforcers. The note, slipped under her door, was typed, chilling. "You were warned. Whitaker, back off." Elaine's chest heaved, fear and rage colliding. The FBI raids had provoked the Covenant's deadliest retaliation yet, a personal strike to crush her spirit, She called Marcus, her voice breaking. "They've got Lila, find her." Marcus's reply was grim. "I'm on it, but this is deep. They're not bluffing." Elaine's motel TV flickered, Karen's face filling the screen. Now the Covenant's mouthpiece. "Dr. Whitaker's reckless accusations against Skyline are fabricated," Karen said, her voice smooth. "Her lies caused this hack, endangering millions." The broadcast cut to X, posts with 70,000 likes claiming Whitaker's faking evidence to save herself. The racial slurs were vicious, accusing her of treason. Elaine's triumph shattered, the raids overshadowed by Karen's lies and Lila's kidnapping. The syndicate had turned her victory into a trap, framing her as a liar while holding her sister hostage. As Elaine packed her bag, the motel's silence broke. A roar rising outside. Protesters 200 strong surrounded Horizon's headquarters across town, their chants audible on the news. "Whitaker out! No liars in charge!" Signs waved, some scrawled with slurs. The boycott's fire reignited. Elaine's heart sank, the syndicate's claws tightening. The kidnapping was a gut punch, but the protest trapped her physically. Horizon's tower a fortress under siege. She slipped out the motel's back door, her jumpsuit swapped for a hoodie. Her mind racing. The server files were with the FBI, but Karen's broadcast had poisoned the public, her lies a shield for the Covenant. Lila's life hung in the balance, the note's threat a blade at Elaine's throat. She thought of her niece, crying after the school harassment, and Jamal's voice, raw with fear. The syndicate wasn't just after her job, they were tearing her family apart, their racism a weapon to dehumanize her. Elaine's arm ached, but her resolve was steel. She'd been chairwoman for 3 years, building Horizon through crises, with cunning and grit. The Covenant thought they'd broken her, kidnapping Lila, trapping her in a mob's crosshairs. But Elaine was a fighter, her intelligence her lifeline. She texted Lena. "Need a lead on Lila's kidnappers. Dig into." "Skyline Security." Lena's reply was instant. "Working it. Stay alive." Elaine slipped into a cab, heading for a safe rendezvous with Marcus. The city's lights blurred. Chicago, a battlefield. The protests, Karen's lies, the kidnapping, they were all Vaughn's doing, a desperate bid to silence her. But the FBI raids proved the Covenant was vulnerable. Her files a crack in their armor. Elaine's mind churned, plotting her next move. She'd rescue Lila, expose the kidnappers, and keep fighting, no matter the cost. The cab's radio crackled, a news report mentioning her name. Whitaker's whereabouts unknown, linked to Skyline chaos. Elaine's jaw clenched, the lie a constant weight. She leaned forward, her voice low. "Drop me at the docks. No questions." The driver nodded, his eyes flicking to her in the mirror. Elaine sank back, her hoodie a thin shield, her fight, personal and raw. Comment number 1 if you're gutted by Lila's kidnapping, hit like to stand with Elaine, and subscribe to see her fight back. Have you ever faced a moment where everything you love was at stake? Share below. Can Elaine save her sister before the syndicate strikes again? The syndicate's lair. Dr. Elaine Whitaker crouched in the shadows of a Chicago dockside warehouse, the air heavy with the stench of oil and rust. Her hoodie clung to her skin, damp from the night's drizzle, her arm throbbing beneath the sniper's bandage. Lila's kidnapping had gutted her, the syndicate's note, "Stop or she dies," a blade twisting in her chest. Marcus Tate, her private investigator, knelt beside her, his scarred cheek taut as he scanned the warehouse's rusted doors. His lead had traced Lila to this Covenant stronghold, a hub for their enforcers. Elaine's burner phone was silent. Lena's last text, Skyline Security tied to kidnappers, her only clue. The hack, the boycott, her niece's harassment, all paled against Lila's life. Elaine's heart pounded, but her eyes were steel, her resolve forged by every blow the syndicate had landed. The FBI raids, sparked by her Skyline files, had rattled Vaughn, but Lila's abduction was their deadliest retaliation yet. 2 guards, east entrance, Marcus whispered, his binoculars glinting. "Lila's inside, 2nd floor. We move fast." Elaine nodded, her breath shallow. She'd infiltrated Skyline, exposed the hack. But this was personal. a rescue mission against a syndicate that killed without hesitation. Marcus handed her a small knife, its blade cold in her palm. "For emergencies," he said, his voice grim. They slipped through a broken window, the warehouse's interior a maze of crates and flickering lights. Footsteps echoed above, voices barking orders. Elaine's sneakers were silent on the concrete, her mind flashing to Lila's laugh. Her sister's strength. The syndicate's racism had torn her family apart, branding Elaine a liar, a terrorist, a murderer. She'd fight for Lila no matter the cost. They climbed a metal staircase, the second floor a dimly lit corridor. A guard rounded the corner, his radio crackling. Marcus moved like a shadow, disarming him with a swift chokehold, the guard slumping, unconscious. Elaine's pulse raced, her knife gripped tight. At the corridor's end, a locked door loomed. Marcus picked the lock, the click deafening in the silence. Inside, Lila sat bound to a chair, her face bruised but defiant. "Elaine!" She gasped, her eyes wide. Elaine rushed forward, cutting the ropes, her hands trembling. "I've got you," she whispered, pulling Lila into a fierce hug. Lila's breath hitched, tears streaking her face. "They said you'd never come." Elaine's heart broke, but there was no time. Alarms blared, red lights flashing. "Vaughn's," voice crackled over an intercom. "Whitaker's here, end it." Marcus cursed, his gun drawn. They knew we were coming. Elaine's stomach dropped, the trap snapping shut. The syndicate had baited her, using Lila to lure her in. Footsteps thundered, enforcers closing in. Elaine grabbed Lila's hand, Marcus leading the way. They sprinted through the corridor, bullets pinging off crates. A blast shook the warehouse, a bomb detonating below, flames licking the walls. Elaine's lungs burned, the heat searing her skin. "Vaughn's torching the place," Marcus shouted, kicking open a side exit. They stumbled into the night, the warehouse collapsing in a roar of fire and smoke. Lila coughed, clinging to Elaine, her legs weak. Elaine's arm screamed with pain, but she pushed forward, the docks a blur of shadows. Marcus's truck idled nearby, their escape. As they climbed in, Elaine's burner phone buzzed, a text from Lena. "FBI's got Vaughn's. Location, Private Jet O'Hare, move now." Elaine's eyes narrowed, triumph flickering. She forwarded the text to the FBI, adding, "Vaughn's at the warehouse. Arrest him." The feds were closing in, her rescue a chance to trap the syndicate's kingpin. By dawn, news broke. Vaughn was cornered, his jet grounded, a nationwide manhunt underway. Elaine, hiding in a safe house with Lila, watched the reports, her chest swelling. She'd saved her sister, exposed Vaughn's lair, and set the FBI on his trail. She believed she'd struck a fatal blow, the covenant crumbling under federal pressure. Horizon's stock stabilized, the boycott easing as ex-posts praised her courage, one with 80,000 likes reading, "Whitaker's a hero." But as she bandaged Lila's wrists, her phone buzzed with a new alert, the headline a knife to her gut. Karen Holt leaks Whitaker's safe house, mob attacks. Elaine's breath caught, the TV showing a crowd of 300 storming a Chicago safe house, the one she'd abandoned after the firebomb. Windows shattered, flames rising, protesters chanting, "No terrorists in Horizon." The racial slurs were vicious, signs scrawled with hate. Karen's voice filled the broadcast, her senior attendant uniform pristine. "Dr. Whitaker's lies endanger us all. I've shared her location to protect Horizon's future." The mob had injured Jamal, Elaine's brother, his arm broken in the chaos, now hospitalized. Elaine's knees buckled, guilt choking her. The syndicate's retaliation was relentless, Karen's leak a public execution of Elaine's safety. The safe house attack was a trap, time to crush her victory. As Elaine helped Lila to a couch, her phone rang, Sarah's voice urgent. "The board's called an emergency vote to remove you as chairwoman. Vaughn's allies are pushing hard." Elaine's heart sank, the syndicate's claws sinking deeper. The FBI manhunt had rattled Vaughn, but Karen's move was a masterstroke, turning Elaine's heroism into a liability. The mob, the boycott, Jamal's injury, they were all covenant strikes, exploiting racist fears to paint Elaine as a danger. She sank onto the couch, her hoodie damp with sweat, her arm throbbing. The warehouse rescue, the FBI tip, her brief triumph, all were overshadowed by this new chaos. She texted Marcus, "Find Karen's link to the mob. We're not done." Marcus's reply was grim. "On it. Watch your back." Elaine's mind raced. The syndicate's lair a memory of fire and blood. Vaughn's escape was a blow, but his jet's grounding gave her hope. Yet Karen's leak and the board vote were new fronts, the stakes excruciating. She thought of Jamal, his voice raw after the attack, and Lila's bruises, a reminder of the syndicate's cruelty. The Covenant wasn't just after her job. They were destroying her family, their racism a weapon to erase her legacy. Elaine's eyes fell on her mother's photo, tucked in her bag, her smile a lifeline. "You taught me to fight," she whispered. She stood, her resolve hardening. "Lila, rest. I'm going to Horizon. The board won't bury me." Lila grabbed her hand, her voice shaking. "Elaine, they'll kill you." Elaine's smile was fierce. Not today. She'd been chairwoman for 3 years, turning Horizon into a titan through sheer will. The syndicate thought they'd broken her, injuring Jamal, trapping her in a mob's crosshairs. But Elaine was a fighter, her intelligence her sharpest blade. She'd face the board, expose Vaughn's allies, and protect her family. As she slipped into the night, her hoodie a shield, her phone buzzed with a news report. Whitaker's brother attacked, linked to her chaos. The lie stung, the narrative of a black woman's danger relentless. Elaine hailed a cab, her voice low. "Horizon headquarters. Fast." The driver nodded, his eyes flicking to her in the mirror. Elaine sank back, her fight personal and raw. The syndicate's lair had been a battlefield, but the boardroom was next, a rigged arena where Vaughn's allies held the gavel. She'd rally her allies, outsmart the vote, and keep fighting, no matter the cost. The betrayal. Within, Dr. Elaine Whitaker stood at the head of Horizon Airways' boardroom, the Chicago skyline a gray blur through the rain-streaked windows. Her navy blazer was crisp, but her arm throbbed beneath the sniper's bandage, her heart heavy with Lila's bruises and Jamal's broken arm from the mob attack. The syndicate's lair had been a fiery trap, Vaughn's escape a bitter blow, but Elaine had rallied for this moment, facing the board to save her chairwoman title. The air crackled with tension, 12 board members seated around the mahogany table, their faces a mix of doubt and fatigue. Karen Holt's leak of the safe house had unleashed a mob, her class-action lawsuit and boycott grounding 60% of Horizon's flights. The emergency vote to remove Elaine loomed, Vaughn's allies whispering poison. Elaine's dark eyes burned, her voice steady as she began. "I've led Horizon to record profits, navigated crises, and exposed a syndicate targeting our company. Richard Vaughn's fabricated audit, the hack, the attacks on my family, they're all his doing. A campaign to erase a black woman from leadership." She projected evidence, Marcus's files showing Vaughn's Covenant ties, bank transfers, and emails plotting her downfall. Priya Sharma, her ally, nodded, her pen moving swiftly. James Carter, her staunchest supporter, leaned forward, his gruff voice cutting through murmurs. "Elaine's right. Vaughn's a snake. We keep her. We fight." Elaine's chest swelled, hope flickering. She spoke passionately, recounting the SLAP, the sniper, Lila's kidnapping, her voice raw with conviction. "I've given everything to Horizon. My family's in hiding, my brother's injured, because I dared to lead. Stand with me, and we'll rebuild." The board listened, some faces softening, others glancing at Daniel Price's empty chair, his betrayal as CFO still fresh. Elaine felt the room shift, her evidence and grit swaying them. She believed she'd won, her leadership secure against Vaughn's machinations. Priya stood, her voice firm. "I move to retain Dr. Whitaker as chairwoman." Hands raised one by one, the vote teetering. Elaine's pulse raced, her allies holding strong. But as the final vote approached, James hesitated, his eyes dropping. Elaine's stomach twisted, a chill creeping in. James, her rock, cleared his throat, his voice low. "I'm sorry, Elaine. I vote to remove." Gasps echoed, Priya's pen snapping in her hand. Elaine's knees buckled, Betrayal a physical blow. The vote tipped, 7-5. Her chairwoman title stripped. Security stepped forward, their faces grim, as the boardroom spun. Elaine's voice cracked, her eyes locked on James. "Why?" James looked away, his jaw tight. "I had no choice." The board adjourned, members filing out, Priya's apology a whisper. Elaine stood frozen, her blazer heavy, her legacy shattered. Maya rushed in, her tablet glowing with news alerts. "Elaine, it's worse. Karen's been named interim CEO." Elaine's breath caught, Karen's face flashing on the screen. Her senior attendant uniform swapped for a tailored suit. "I'll restore Horizon's trust," Karen said, her voice syrupy, ex-post with 90,000 likes cheering her rise. The racial undertones were blatant, the narrative of a white savior replacing a black failure chillingly clear. Elaine's false victory, the board's fleeting support, was crushed by James's betrayal, a syndicate masterstroke. As she left the boardroom, her phone buzzed with a news alert. Whitaker linked to terrorist group, federal raids imminent. The article, sourced to Vaughn's media allies, claimed Elaine funded extremists, tying her to the warehouse fire. Ex-posts exploded, one with 100,000 likes reading, "Whitaker's a terrorist. Lock her up." The slurs were unrelenting, accusing her of treason. Elaine's chest tightened, the syndicate's retaliation a death knell. She slipped into a stairwell, her sneakers silent, her mind racing. James's betrayal wasn't cowardice, it was coercion register. Vaughn blackmailed him. She texted Marcus. James flipped. "Find out why." Marcus's reply was swift. "Digging. Stay off the grid." Elaine's heart pounded. The terrorist. Label a lethal escalation, exploiting racist fears to paint her as a national threat. She hailed a cab, her hoodie low, heading for a new safe house. "West Side, fast," she told the driver, her voice hoarse. The radio blared, a report claiming, "Whitaker's family targeted in raids." Elaine's blood ran cold. Federal agents were storming Lila's hideout, Jamal's hospital room, even her niece's school, treating them as accomplices. The driver glanced at her, his eyes narrowing. "You look familiar." Elaine's pulse spiked, her face plastered on every screen. "Just drive," she snapped, sinking lower. The cab sped through Chicago's rain-slicked streets, the skyline a blur. Elaine's mind churned, James's betrayal a wound deeper than the sniper's graze. Vaughn's blackmail was the only explanation, the Covenant's claws in her closest ally. The terrorist label was a lie, but the raids were real, her family hunted like criminals. Lila's voice echoed, "They'll kill you." Her warning now prophecy. Elaine's arm ached, her blazer a relic of a title she'd lost. The boycott, the hack, Jamal's injury, Lila's kidnapping. All were Covenant strikes, each blow fiercer, exploiting racism to erase her. She thought of her mother's photo, its smile fading in her bag. "I'm still here," Elaine whispered, her resolve steel. She'd been chairwoman, a titan who'd outsmarted crises. The syndicate thought they'd broken her, stripping her, title, hunting her family. But Elaine was a fugitive now, her intelligence her only weapon. She'd clear her name, expose Vaughn's blackmail, and protect her loved ones. The cab stopped at a rundown motel, its neon sign flickering. Elaine paid cash, her hoodie shielding her. Inside, she checked her burner phone, Lena's text glowing. "FBI's dirty. Covenant's got agents." Elaine's stomach dropped, the syndicate's reach suffocating. The raids weren't justice, they were a hit, her family collateral damage. She sank onto the bed, the mattress creaking, her mind plotting. James's betrayal was the syndicate's trump card, but she'd find his leverage, turn it against them. Marcus's skills, Lena's leads, they were her lifelines. The terrorist label was a lie, but the public believed it. Ex-posts with slurs fueling the manhunt. Elaine's eyes burned, her fight personal, her family's lives the stakes. She'd go underground, trace Vaughn's endgame, and strike back no matter the cost. The motel's TV looped Karen's CEO speech, her lies a knife. Elaine switched it off, the silence heavy. The boardroom, her empire, was gone, but she was still Elaine Whitaker, a fighter forged in fire. The syndicate's betrayal had pushed her to the edge, but she'd claw her way back, her next move brewing in the shadows. The fugitives fight. Dr. Elaine Whitaker crouched in the cargo hold of a private jet at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport, the hum of engines vibrating through her bones. Her hoodie was soaked with sweat, her arm throbbing beneath the sniper's bandage, her heart heavy with the weight of James's betrayal and the federal raids on her family. The motel's dim light, the terrorist label, and Karen Holt's ascension to Horizon's interim CEO had pushed Elaine underground, a fugitive hunted by the Covenant's lies. But Lena's lead had traced Richard Vaughn to this jet, his last bid for escape before the FBI's manhunt closed in. Elaine's burner phone, tucked in her pocket, held a recording device, her plan to confront Vaughn and capture his confession. Her contacts, old allies from Horizon's early days, had smuggled her aboard, their loyalty a flicker of hope. The hold smelled of fuel and metal, crates strapped tight around her. Elaine's dark eyes burned, her resolve steel despite the odds. Lila's kidnapping, Jamal's injury, the boycott grounding 70% of Horizon's flights, all were Covenant strikes, their racism a relentless tide. She'd saved Lila, exposed the hack, but James's vote had stripped her title, the syndicate's claws in her closest ally. Now, Vaughn was her target, the kingpin whose confession could clear her name. The jet taxied, the hold shaking as it climbed. Elaine slipped through a maintenance hatch, emerging into the jet's plush cabin. Vaughn sat alone, his silver hair gleaming under soft lights, a glass of whiskey in hand. His pale eyes widened as Elaine stepped forward, her voice ablade. "It's over, Vaughn. Your syndicate's done." Vaughn's smile was thin, his voice calm. "You're persistent, Whitaker, but you're too late." Elaine held up her phone, the recorder blinking. "Tell me everything. The Covenant, the SLAP, the hack, my family. The FBI's listening." Vaughn chuckled, unfazed, but Elaine pressed, her words fierce. "You framed me, killed Tom, targeted my niece. Confess, or I take you down with me." Vaughn leaned back, his eyes cold. "You want the truth? Fine." He spoke, his voice chilling, detailing the Covenant's campaign. Karen's slap to provoke her, the audit to discredit her, Tom's murder to silence leaks, the hack to ruin Horizon, and Lila's kidnapping to break her. "Black leaders like you threaten our order," he sneered. "You were just the loudest, Elaine's stomach twisted, his words a venomous confirmation of the racism driving every blow. Her recorder caught it all, his confession a dynamite charge. She texted the audio to Lena and the FBI, her fingers trembling. "You're finished," she said, her voice steady. Vaughn's smile faded, his hand reaching for a concealed button. Alarms blared, the jet banking sharply. "You'll never leave this plane," he hissed, lunging for her. Elaine dodged, her knife flashing, a gift from Marcus. She slashed his arm, Vaughn staggering back. The cabin door burst open, FBI agents storming in, their vests marked. "Richard." "Vaughn, you're under arrest," an agent shouted, cuffing him. Elaine exhaled, her chest swelling with triumph. The confession was live, Lena streaming it to the Tribune. X posts with 120,000 likes cheering, "Vaughn's done. Whitaker's free." The jet landed, agents escorting Vaughn away, his eyes burning into Elaine. She believed she'd won, her name cleared, the Covenant's kingpin in chains. Horizon's board paused the boycott, stock soaring 10 points. Lila texted, "You did it, sis." Elaine's heart lifted, her fugitive days ending. She stepped off the jet, the dawn sky clear, imagining her family safe, her legacy restored. But as she reached the tarmac, her phone buzzed with a news alert. The headline a sledgehammer. Karen Holt sells Horizon to racist conglomerate. Elaine's knees buckled, the air sucked from her lungs. Karen, interim CEO, had manipulated the board, signing a deal with Apex Industries, a conglomerate notorious for discriminatory practices. The sale erased Elaine's reforms. Apex's CEO, vowing to cleanse Horizon's image. X posts with 150,000 likes crowed, "Whitaker's legacy gone." The slurs were vicious, celebrating a white-led takeover. Elaine's triumph shattered, the confession overshadowed by Karen's betrayal. The syndicate's retaliation was a masterstroke, dismantling her life's work. As she stumbled toward a waiting car, Marcus called, his voice frantic. "Elaine, a mole in the FBI leaked your location. SWAT's coming now!" Headlights flared, armored vehicles roaring onto the tarmac. Elaine sprinted, her arms screaming, diving behind a hangar as boots thundered. "Elaine Whitaker, surrender!" A megaphone blared, bullets pinging off metal. Elaine's heart raced, the SWAT ambush a lethal trap. The Covenant's claws reached into the FBI, Karen Sale a distraction to corner her. She crawled through the hangar, her hoodie torn, her mind racing. The confession had nailed Vaughn, but Karen's move was a death blow, Horizon slipping from her grasp. Jamal's hospital bed, Lila's bruises, her niece's tears, they fueled her. The syndicate wasn't just after her. They were erasing every black leader's dream, their racism a tidal wave. Elaine's eyes fell on her phone, Lena's text glowing. "Sale's not final. Fight it." A spark of hope flared, but the SWAT team's shouts closed in, their flashlights slicing the dark. Elaine slipped into a drainage tunnel, the cold biting her skin, her breath ragged. The ambush was a desperate move, proof the Covenant feared her confession. But Karen Sale was a gut punch, her legacy a casualty of the syndicate's endgame. She thought of her mother's words, a fading echo. "You're stronger than their hate." Elaine's resolve hardened, her knife still in hand. She'd been chairwoman, a titan who'd built Horizon through fire. The syndicate thought they'd broken her, selling her company, hunting her like prey. But Elaine was a fugitive fighter, her intelligence her lifeline. She'd escape the ambush, rally her allies, and stop the sale. The tunnel's darkness swallowed her, the SWAT team's shouts fading. Elaine's arm throbbed, her hoodie a thin shield, her mind plotting. The confession was her ace, but Karen's betrayal was a new war, the stakes her life's work. She'd find a way to reverse the sale, expose the FBI mole, and protect her family no matter the cost. The Jet's arrest, her brief victory, was a cruel mirage, the syndicate's claws deeper than she'd imagined. But Elaine Whitaker was still alive, her fight aflame in the dark. The chairwoman's revenge. Dr. Elaine Whitaker emerged from the drainage tunnel into Chicago's pre-dawn chill, her hoodie torn, her arms screaming from the sniper's graze. The SWAT ambush at O'Hare had nearly trapped her, the Covenant's mole in the FBI leaking her location to silence her forever. Karen Holt's sale of Horizon Airways to Apex Industries, a racist conglomerate, had gutted her legacy, the boycott and mob attacks on her family. Lila's kidnapping, Jamal's broken arm, her niece's harassment, fueling a fire of rage and resolve. Vaughn's confession, recorded on the Jet, had sparked his arrest, a fleeting triumph crushed by Karen's betrayal and the syndicate's relentless retaliation. Elaine's breath fogged in the cold, her dark eyes scanning the empty docks. Her burner phone buzzed with a text from Lena Brooks. "Sales vulnerable. Apex deal needs shareholder vote. You've got a shot." Elaine's pulse quickened, hope flickering. She'd escaped the ambush, her intelligence and grit her lifeline. The confession was live, streaming on X with 200,000 likes, posts cheering, "Whitaker's truth wins." But the sale loomed, Apex's CEO vowing to erase her reforms. Elaine slipped into a warehouse, a safe spot Marcus had secured, its air thick with dust and oil. Her laptop glowed, Marcus's files open, detailing Apex's discriminatory history, firing minority executives, dodging labor laws. Elaine's fingers flew, drafting a broadcast script. She'd expose Karen, Apex, and the Covenant on live television, rallying shareholders to block the sale. Lena arranged a slot with a national network, her Pulitzer clout opening doors. Elaine showered, swapping her hoodie for a borrowed blazer, her arm bandaged but steady. At noon, she stood in a studio, cameras rolling, her voice fierce. "I'm Dr. Elaine Whitaker, former chairwoman of Horizon Airways. Karen Holt slapped me, lied about it, and sold Horizon to a racist conglomerate, Apex Industries, to erase my legacy as a black woman. Richard Vaughn's syndicate framed me, killed my friend, kidnapped my sister, and hacked Horizon, all to silence minority leaders." She played Vaughn's confession, his chilling words echoing. Black leaders threaten our order. The studio fell silent, producers gaping. Elaine held up Marcus's files, her eyes blazing. Apex discriminates, and Karen's their puppet. Shareholders, vote no on the sale. Horizon's mine. The broadcast went viral. X posts hitting 300,000 likes. Hashtags like #SaveHorizon trending globally. Shareholders flooded Horizon's board with demands, the boycott collapsing as passengers rallied, booking flights in solidarity. Elaine's chest swelled, her voice reaching millions. But as she left the studio, a courier slipped her a sealed envelope, unmarked, heavy. Inside, a typed letter. Well played, Whitaker. But the covenant endures. Elaine's blood ran cold, the signature a single initial. C. Not Vaughn, but an ally, a new shadow waiting. Her triumph wavered, the letter a chilling hint of battles to come. She texted Marcus, "Find who sent this." His reply was grim. "Already on it. Stay sharp." Elaine's broadcast had shaken the syndicate, but the letter was their final jab, a warning they weren't done. News broke hours later. The shareholder vote rejected Apex's deal. Horizon saved. Elaine's heart lifted, but the studio's cameras flashed again, reporters shouting, "Whitaker, what's next?" She froze, the letter's weight in her pocket. Then, a smile curved her lips, her voice steady. "I'm taking Horizon back." The crowd roared, X posts with 400,000 likes cheering, "Whitaker's unstoppable." But Elaine's mind raced, the letter's threat looming. She returned to a safe house, Lila and Jamal waiting, their faces lit with relief. "You did it," Lila whispered, hugging her. Jamal, his arm in a sling, grinned. "Told you, sis. You're a beast." Elaine's eyes stung, her family's safety a hard-won victory. But the letter gnawed at her, its cryptic promise a shadow over her joy. As night fell, Elaine's phone buzzed with a final news alert. Karen Holt arrested for fraud, linked to Covenant. The broadcast showed Karen in cuffs, her face pale. X posts with 500,000 likes crowing, "Justice for Whitaker." Elaine exhaled, Karen's downfall a brick in her rebuilt empire. But the letter's initial C haunted her, a new player in the syndicate's game. Elaine sat at a desk, her laptop open, drafting reforms for Horizon, diversity mandates, anti-discrimination training, a fund for minority leaders. Her arm ached, but her spirit soared. She'd been chairwoman, a titan forged in fire, and she'd clawed her way back. The syndicate thought they'd broken her, selling Horizon, hunting her family, branding her a terrorist. But Elaine was a fighter, her intelligence her sharpest blade. The broadcast, the vote, Karen's arrest, they were her revenge, a testament to her strength. Yet the letter's shadow lingered, a reminder that the Covenant's roots ran deep. Elaine's eyes fell on her mother's photo, its smile a beacon. "We're not done," she whispered, her resolve iron. She'd rebuild Horizon, protect her family, and hunt the Covenant's remnants, no matter the cost. The safe house's silence was a stark contrast to Chicago's chaos, the skyline a distant glow. Elaine's phone buzzed, Lena's text glowing. "Sees a ghost, no trace yet." Elaine's jaw clenched, the syndicate's final twist a challenge she'd face. She stood, her blazer a symbol of her reclaimed power, her mind plotting. The Covenant had underestimated her, their racism a flawed weapon against her will. Elaine Whitaker was back, her fight a flame that wouldn't die. The letter, a spark for a new war. Airline. Elaine Whitaker's journey in this gripping tale offers profound lessons about resilience and the fight against systemic racism. First, it shows that courage in the face of injustice can spark change, even when the odds seem insurmountable. Elaine faced relentless attacks, SLAPS, false accusations, family threats. Yet her intelligence and grit turned the tide, exposing the Covenant's racist syndicate. This teaches us to stand firm, using truth as a weapon against lies. Second, the story reveals the depth of systemic prejudice, from corporate boardrooms to media narratives, urging us to question who controls the story. Elaine's betrayal by allies like James highlights the need for vigilance, as even trusted friends can falter under pressure. Third, Her triumph, reclaiming Horizon through a secret stake, proves that strategic thinking can outmaneuver power. Yet, the Covenant's lingering threat, marked by the cryptic letter, reminds us that victories are often incomplete, demanding ongoing resistance. Elaine's reforms for Horizon inspire us to build systems that uplift, not oppress. Finally, her family's endurance underscores the personal cost of fighting racism, calling us to support those on the front lines. What injustice have you faced, and how did you fight back? Comment number 1, hit like, and subscribe to join the fight for justice. Thank you for watching, and here's wishing you strength to rise above hate.